Welcome to the Lots Project Podcast, a daily look into our journey to live outside the systems of control. Well, hello everyone. I'm Brian, and this episode is being aired on Saturday, April 2nd, 2022, and this will be episode 71 of the Lots Project Podcast, and it's titled Coffee with Brian, featuring Mike, Loco Estoy, the Philippine Nomad. This is Mike's return trip to the Lots Project Podcast. We chatted for quite a while, when this airs, probably about a month earlier, and got kind of going in some different directions, and it was a great chat. We cut it off, and I was looking at his guest form that he filled out, and he had so much more to say. So I am really interested in talking to him about growing up. He kind of traveled all over. He experienced all sorts of different things in different places with different people, and it seems like a pretty interesting story. So I wanted to bring him back on, and this is my on-call week for work, and I do a pre-recorded episode on that Saturday just in case I get called out to work, or I don't want to get called out in the middle of an interview or not be able to show up for someone that has committed their time to doing it. So I like to get it pre-recorded. That being said, if I did not get called out, there is a good possibility that I am in the chat. And Mike said when we were talking before the show that he might be able to be in the chat during the airing too. So I know he's always bouncing around between Float and Odyssey and YouTube, kind of every place I stream. I see his comments everywhere. So yeah, if you got questions for him during the broadcast while you're watching, feel free to throw them in the chat, and likely one of the two of us will be in there, if not both. So other than that, being a recorded episode, I have no idea what's going on the day before or day after, so there isn't a whole lot of announcements, so we can get right to it. And with that, I am happy to bring back to the Lots Project Podcast Mike, Loco Estoy, that Philippine Nomad. How's it going this morning over there? Actually, this time you're drinking coffee and I'm not. So how's it going, Mike?
Oh, it's great. It's a Freaky Friday. On the work side, we got payroll tomorrow, and the workers are scrambling. Sometimes they want cash advance. No, we don't do that anymore. No. So it's like you need to get to work. So, but yeah, it's a tough business that me and my business partner, my wife, she helps out also in the business. So, and I'm just kind of like Brian. I'm waiting to break free. It's like, okay, when are we gonna finish some of these projects? And let's head to the farm, up to the ranch. We got a lot of plans too for rural development. We're doing urban development right now, and it's not. I said no. Here,
not a
you
fan
do
of the
that.
cities, huh?
It's like it's a whole another ball game that I'm used to for doing this type of business. So
nice.
But yeah, it's fun. It's Friday. And I was gonna do Saturday. I thought, no, Friday's better. It was getting crazy for about 30 minutes earlier. I thought, when am I gonna
We
plant
kind of
myself?
bounced around. We bounced around all week trying to get together, even to record, because I was having crappy days. You were having super busy days, but we finally locked it down, and here we are. So, last time you were here, you kind of gave a background. If you want to hit it real quick for somebody that might not have listened to it before, kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of jump into how you were raised. You kind of bounced around everywhere. We talked about a little bit of that before, but if we can rehash through that, that'd be great, because I kind of want to hear this story. So
Sure.
introduce yourself, and then we'll get going.
My name's Mike, and the name Loco is just a nickname. It rhymes with my last name, Estioko, and I got that from some friend, some coworker back in high school. He said, "Oh, he's crazy. He's Loco Estioko, Esti Loco." So it's like, oh, that's my name now. And I've used that over here since my social media got crazy, or just started getting busy around 2007 with the Facebook. And I found out soon when I got back here to the ancestral motherland, there's a whole bunch of dudes that got my same name. I said, this ain't gonna work. People aren't gonna find me. They're like, where are you? Where are you? So I used the nickname, and Estoy, Loco Estoy, Estoy Loco. That's Spanish. So if you don't know it, it's I'm crazy. Crazy I am. So, and I grew up in California, born and raised there. My dad and the whole clan migrated there, what, 70, 80 years ago. I know my dad's 82 now, so whatever. He graduated after high school. I mean, he came after high school. He's the youngest of 5 brothers and 6 sisters, second youngest out of 11. And they just decided to, like, let's go for greener pastures. And grandma said, what the heck? She built this place up where we're staying right now. She was from the farm, a poor peasant farmer, and she brought her husband. My grandpa said, are we going to stay on the farm or are we going to go do something? Let's make it happen. So they made it happen. But then our clan migrated to California. So I grew up there. Also elementary. I went to 7 different elementary schools. I even went to school here in the Philippines when I was 6, about 6.5, whatever, for grades 1 to 2. And I came back and I was in the same grade again. I was like, what happened? I'm not moving forward. I'm going back. So I spent 7 years in 7 different elementary schools. And then junior high kind of settled down in the Bay Area in Northern California. And then pretty much that all the way to about second year of college. Got out. It didn't happen up here in the north, so I went down south to Southern Cal. After a long time, finished up there, and then like, okay, what's going on now? There ain't no jobs. This is not what I expected. It's like I never wanted to be in this system, but just
So
going
what
along
what
to
did you
get
go?
along.
What did you go to college for?
Okay, check this out. Okay, my dad was a nurse, so he must have got some training I think he got training in the Army. He right after high school went to the Army, and I don't know if he put his 4 or 6, probably what stayed in for the reserve. And when he got out, he worked a little bit, but then he went and got his nursing degree. And we didn't have no doctors in our clan, so he said, "Mike, you're going to be a doctor. You're going to be the first one in our clan." Well, my grandpa's side, my grandma, her clans over here. There's a lot of doctors here in the Philippines, but none from my grandpa's side. So he said, and I was prepped to go to college. It's like, I got in, but right away I said, this ain't for me. And, if your heart's not in it, now after I reflected, it's like, I could have done it, but you know what happened? So life lesson number 1, never give up. First 2 semesters of pre-med, I flunked out. My dad was disappointed. It's like,
That happens.
okay, well, you pre-business, business economics, whatever. I'm gonna do something there. This I'm not want to. He said, all right, whatever you do, I don't care if you be a garbage man. You be the best garbage man. So I still was, taking classes again, then stopped because I was like, I can't take anymore until I transferred back to the university after I flunked out the first time. So I started doing some construction and side hustles and everything. So I got a lot of that too when I was a kid, but this was a really good experience in life, not just on the skills as well. Then moved down to Southern California, and after 3 junior colleges, 2 universities, and 7 years later, I graduated on the 7-year plan. So there are no 4 or 5-year plans anymore. And here's another one. My best buddy, he after high school, he started taking some classes. He just dropped down to part-time. Then he dropped out. He was working. He was hustling at UPS. He had a good management position after we worked part-time for we brought me in for a couple seasonal shifts, and he was full-time in it. And then his dad said, when are you going to graduate? He's like 7 years later. It's like, oh shit, I better get on this. So 7-year plan, check this out. He was on the 12-year plan. He graduated 12 years. I mean, most people would give up after the couple of years. So, and he told me, Mike, I didn't get to his graduation ceremony. He was limited, but we had the after party. And he said, man, I almost cried up on there on stage. My parents were there, my sisters. He was the youngest, 3 older sisters. And then, Filipinos are like looking up on the wall. Where's that graduation picture? Where's that diploma? He's like, oh man, every time I came home for how many years until he moved out though, before he graduated, his dad kept dogging him every day. It's like, when are you going to graduate? It's like, so he did it. So, but
so
that's
that's a big
corporate.
cultural. Is that a big cultural thing with you? With your culture, is that
Yeah,
piece of paper that's super important?
education. Yeah, over here. Yeah, it is. But I tell people, say, you know what? learning is lifelong, and you might have been in the formal education, that's the K to 12, K to 16, whatever. I was K to, I don't know, 20 something. I can't remember, 7 years just to graduate after 12, so, but it's informal. What you learn, what you're getting right now, you can call this a podcast, a vlog class, seminar, work, this is real life skills that you're gonna can pick up. This is informal education, make it a
Yeah,
mini webinar. You get three things. We used to do a lot of training. And I say we get the triple E. You get education, empowerment, and entertainment. You get
that's
scrambled
true.
with us, and you're gonna get the entertainment. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's where it went.
He's a character for
And
sure.
yeah, 7 years to get a financial 7 years, and I graduated with a degree in Bachelor of Science in financial, was it finance and business economics, emphasis in
Okay.
international finance. So I thought, I don't know. It was kind of like, and they say, oh, what are you gonna do? It's like you're gonna be the big money maker. And I took an internship actually last year, before I graduated, like a summer internship for one of the big brokerage firms. I think it was Lehman Brothers. 2 weeks. I lasted 2 weeks. I said, I'm not gonna be too, but I was good. They said, yeah, you're called through right before they give us leads. And my job for the broker was just to get through to all through the secretaries. And this is, it's, you gotta sell them a big account. And I would get through, and they said, how'd you get through to my secretary? I have three leads. And I just click them right over to the broker, and he makes the sale. But I said, man, I ain't gonna last. So that was 2 week unpaid internship. I learned a lot though. That was like a big wake up on the corporate. I worked a little bit on the lower corporate, part-time jobs here and there. But I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be dead. It's big money, but I said, no, that's not it for me. So yeah, so I graduated in 92 in the middle of the recession in Southern California, all this big college debt. And I should have went to another university, but they didn't take me right away. So I jumped on this. I said, how am I going to pay for this? They said, no problem. We'll give you a lot of scholarships and a little bit of loans, but it was more loans than scholarships. So I was like, okay, how am I going to pay
Yeah,
this off?
that's
So,
always
but I just
the
started
problem.
working it. And but there were no jobs in my field. I didn't have no parents with big connections. This is a big private school, big rich kids. I got in on the affirmative action program, I guess you can call it, or whatever. They just start letting you can jump in. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. They didn't know you're going to be in debt for the rest of your life. So, or we didn't
Right,
know. So,
right. Oh,
but
we'll
yeah, I
let you
started.
go. We'll let you go here, but we're not going to tell you you're going to have to pay for it for the rest of your life. but
Oh
we'll
yeah,
let you in.
and so I just started applying like crazy. But you know what? There was no regular office sit down, pencil pushing jobs, whatever, in my field. So I think I got about 4 callbacks on applications and whatnot. And guess what? They were all sales. And they weren't just regular sales. It was like commission only. There's no allowance. It's like you sell or you don't eat. And man, the first 2 positions, man, I crashed and burned big time. I had no training, no experience. I didn't know how to sell. But then I started pick up momentum, start selling financial services, life insurance, investments, whatever. And I said, man, this can be good. I can be my own boss, self-employed, uh, at least not part of the system that I really wanted to. And I started building my skills in sales, then later marketing. So I was good, but I was still solo. It's like I didn't have a team of sales reps like, I was under, but I learned soon that's like you got to get into management, so but kept moving. Then I moved from Southern California to Hawaii, continued that career. But there was a realization after about 4 years, I think, no, maybe 3 years that I was in the industry. I said, this didn't jive with my values. It's like, I'm not going for that brass ring. I'm not going to be keeping up with
Yeah,
the Joneses.
I did that for a while. The life insurance, whole life insurance,
Mm,
and investment and selling and got all the licensing and all that, and it just didn't feel right in your gut. Like you're like,
mm-mm,
this can work. Like it's like everything. It's like college. Like it's not for everyone. If it's done right, it's a legitimate tool, but the way it's sold it sold like a faulty bill of goods, I think, because a lot of people don't realize the trouble you can get into. And so, yeah, I always was kind of like, so,
Yeah,
but yeah, I get where you're going with the not being feeling right about selling.
yeah. And actually, the first one, yeah, was one of the big corporates this whole life. But then I switched to another company that was selling term. It was buy term, invest the difference. So I got licensed with my in life and securities. So and I was good with doing the securities because no one else was licensed. Like they couldn't pass that. I was like, I knew how to take tests by then. I figured out the system, how to game. It's like what Jack mentions. Like you don't have to be the smartest kid there, but you got to know how to do just enough to get. And I know how to take tests. It's like, okay, I
Was
can
that
do
like the
this. I mean,
series 7 exam and stuff like
it
that?
was a 6 and 63. The 7, that's the hardcore. That's the broker's license. But if you
All
just need
right.
to sell some mutual funds, it's 6 and 63, and that's nationwide as well. So I had that license, took it with me from California to Hawaii. But each, the states have their own life
Right.
insurance. So I I had to take that test again in Hawaii, and I got my wife involved. I said, I can't make any sales right now. I just have to, split commissions with those other guys. She's okay. I'll get my license. So she got her license. So we were teaming up, and then I got mine. So then I can do my own sales, right off of my own. And I was hitting it. I got up there in that company. I was like the top 10, and they're like, wow, how's it? We went to a big conference too. It's like, and our team was like top 7. And they said, oh, here's our financial guru. It's like only because no one else could sell. So I was getting all those sales, but I had some big sales myself though. But you know what? It wasn't solid ground. It all fell apart too. That's where I realized this, I had to realize I say, this, I'm not going, this is not for me. So I I was already working part-time other place. So I said I just dropped it all together. I didn't renew my license. I said I'm not doing any more sales. I was working 16-hour days, 7 days a week, 368 days a year, however you can add it up more than you have hours. At one time I was working part-time at the government job for my father-in-law. I was working, and then just later I moved to airlines. We'll talk about that. I didn't have a day off for 6 months. I had a Tuesday, Wednesday shift at the airline. I had Monday through Friday at the government, and there was no day off. I tell people, they're like, you try working 6 days, 6 months straight. That's 180 days. And I had one day off. It was a Tuesday. It was a government holiday. And that was my day off at the airline. And it's like, and I still did something. They said, we're going to go, it's a holiday. We're going to go have some canoe racing and whatever. And I was like, man, I'm tired. No, you got to be on our crew. I said, I don't know how to do this. Just start paddling. Oh man. So I didn't have a day off because that was work. I mean, should be defined as like work is anything you're doing now when you'd rather be doing something else. I wouldn't rather be doing anything else than jumping on with Brian and the other Brians or Jack or Nicole or Ken right now. They're on. This is fun. I mean, to me, this is not work. Now it's work if like, oh shoot, I gotta get someone on like Brian here is like, okay, I gotta fill up the rest of the schedule. And then the next month, and then we gotta get the babies and the trailer ready or the camper, and we're going to be moving soon, like really moving. So, but you know what? I don't. I wouldn't trade this for nothing. That everyone they can have all that corporate. It's like, and even your small business can get kind of corporate. So you gotta keep those things in mind too, because it's like
Yeah, man.
not just the
I'm
time.
shooting below the poverty line. Like I just don't want to
Oh
have a
shoot.
cost of living. Like I
Mm.
want to kind of not have to buy anything. I mean,
Oh yeah. I mean, I've lived like a lot under the poverty line. I mean, I can tell you whole stories about, okay, this is a time to I took the bus here, and I'm not in just the front, I'm in the back of the bus. So, you know, I actually never bought a brand new car. What I've had brand new. No, even my motorcycles was, but they were good used cars. I had a friend that I grew up with. He's a mechanic. He's been wrenching since he was like 13th, 14th. I started learning beside him. He said, Mike, don't go buy a new car. You're going to lose 20% once that thing rolls off the lot. Let's get you some. So we were rolling old 60s muscle cars, and one time I had 3 cars. I had a 62 Cadillac. Oh, that was nice. That was a sedan to build. Then I had my 67 Buick California GS. It's a junior muscle car. It wasn't as big as those Chevys and Mustangs, whatever. And then I had my aunt's Mustang that I tried to sell for her. She's here, just keep it until you can sell it. And if I get anything off it, you can have half, because I don't need it
Keep
anymore.
it
So
keep it till you can sell it, man. I just can't sell it. I don't know what's going on.
she couldn't give that thing away. And I finally sold it to some we had drug dealers that moved into our neighborhood. That was a sad thing. When your neighborhood's going down, when you can't even park your car in front of your own house. One of my dad's friends across the street said, "Mario, watch the house, because I'm moving out and we're gonna just rent it out and just keep an eye on it." And there's all this crazy activity going on, and I met these dudes, and what you doing? It's like, "Oh, we're doing this and that." And the guy, "How about that Mustang?" So I let him use it. I said, "Don't mess it up. This is my aunt's." And then he said, "I want to buy it." He got pulled over by the cops. They got thrown in jail. They were calling me, and is this guy's car? Yeah, he's just got to make another payment on it. I lied the hell out. It was crazy. And then later they got raided. So those neighbors were out. I said, "Dad, what happened to the neighborhood?" He said, "I don't know. I'm not going to be here for a little while." Sad to say, they left California. Not sad, actually, was better. Went to Germany for a few years while Mom was still finishing out her retirement, and then they're in Texas now. So they made a good move. And yeah, once I left California, I knew I wasn't going back. And then Hawaii, I never thought it'd be over here, though. That 30 years ago, 20 years ago, if you asked me, I'd be out here doing what I'm doing now. So but
So you're in Hawaii and you're selling. Where'd you go from there? No, wait.
well,
So you're
the sales crash and burn.
Oh, that's
I
right.
said,
Okay, yeah. All right, we got sidetracked there. So you were
no
working. You were
problem.
working for the airline. You had a government job. What'd you do for the government?
Oh, I was working for my father-in-law. He was way in the system. He was a state rep he was the chairman of the board of tourism. He needed someone good, and my job, I worked for his secretary. So she's the boss in the office when the big boss isn't around. So she said, "Mike, first thing I need you to do is go to office, open it up by 8 and start brewing coffee." So that's how to brew a pot of coffee. I didn't know my parents used to drink coffee at the house. I didn't know how to brew it. So this is how you brew a cup of pot of coffee. So that was my job, and open the mail and entertain people until I get there, until the big boss and he started taking his appointments. So I was doing that part-time, worked at the airline full-time. So I had a full-time and a part-time. And yeah, so but then later, that the government job was just temporary. It was a temporary part-time, just a couple seasons, I guess. I don't know how you call it. And then I stayed in the corporate at the airline for 7 years. I started at the bottom, and we were just the glorified sales reps, which were just call center agents before we had call centers. And I said, I got to get out of here too. So I moved fast. They trained me just doing the regular domestic, San Francisco to LA flights, and, Minneapolis to Chicago. Then went to international. I learned a lot there. Then I worked with the travel agents. So I had 3 different skills in just about a year. Then I said, shoot, we were below poverty. We were making less than McDonald's. Call center agents or reservation sales agents at our office in Hawaii. And I think the other offices in the mainland too, but Hawaii's expensive. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. Everything's imported, unless you just buy, a few veggies out on the farm, whatever. But it was expensive. But you can adjust. They got Costco and Walmart, Sam's Club, and all that. But they were like my coworkers. Most of them were female, and they're like, "Mike, let's get some welfare checks." I said, "What? We qualify?" I said, "No." And at that time I was separated, so I had my son after work and on weekends, whatever. And said, "Okay, let me see what this is all about." Because we had some help too when my parents early on. My mom, she was side hustling, doing some subscription, and my dad was a full-time. So we got some of that for a little bit. It's good, but no, it's not good. You're gonna be stuck in that. So I did that for like 6 months. I said, I don't need this. There's like, they had single moms with 3 kids and a deadbeat dad. I don't know where he is. They need it more than me. And I said, no, I don't need this. My son don't need it. I'm paying for him, taking care of him, even though he's not with me too. So I said, no, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna make it. So I was doing marketing, started jumping into MLM market, and that's like learn more about the marketing side than the sales because it's and I got a lot of experience from California and Hawaii on about marketing. So I said, okay, it's not sales and marketing. It's marketing and sales. Marketing is the system, sales is the process. But you got to build some team. You got to build management. Otherwise, you're going to be burnt out like myself. Uh, you know, just be a lone gunman out there. No posse, and you can make a lot of sales, but if you don't have anything to build it on, I didn't have any team. So that was all about building a team. But that's a lot of work, man. These people, they don't want to work. They said they call this network. It's not net wish. Get to work. And I had a
Right.
one no, he joined me. He was gonna blow it up with us because he had a big network here in the Philippines. He joined another company, and I brought him on, and we were supposed to come over here and blow the hell blow it up. But then it got politics. See, politics even in the marketing game. So they put someone else in up, up here, and then he didn't have the opportunity. He had like a lot of stuff going on. He didn't need to do that. He's a CPA. He had another side business. He had a care home. He was going to open up a Subway, franchise. His sister ran the care home, and she was burned out as a nurse assistant. Check this out. People say, Mike, I want to go abroad. I want to get out of here. It's. I said, why do you want to go abroad? They said, it's so hard. It's so hard here in the Philippines. There's no opportunity. I said, you haven't seen nothing yet. This lady, she's became a friend. I rented a room there. Her brother, again, he was a CPA. He was doing like side finance, like payday loans, and he was a good. He had a lot of good businesses, small business. Her ass was she was a registered nurse. She came over to Hawaii. She couldn't pass her board. You gotta really. My dad was a nurse. He was trained all these nurses in the Philippines. He said they're very good technically, but they don't have the soft skills. They don't have the conversation skills. They don't have the critical thinking. That's the whole because he grew up here. He was only a high school graduate, so he already knew the system. He's fluent, and he it was no problem. When he got his degree. But all these nurses, they go over there, just like you ain't even started yet. You're just beginning again. So she could never pass. Last time I checked, she could never pass her state nursing board for at least 25 years. She was ready to give up. I would have gave up. She's like, she was just a certified nursing assistant, CNA, just working in the doctor's office for my mother-in-law. And she was taking care of the care home. So she was working 8 or 10 hours, 9 hours, whatever, and then come home and work. And she's staying up to 3 in the morning trying to self-study to pass her boards. I was like, that is never going to work. You got to be like CPA or law. You got to take the time and really study for that. You can't just get a couple hours after 15 hours. So I
When
don't
you're
know if
ready to
she's.
fall asleep.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it to her because she had that dream. It's like I get my nursing, my RN. I'm just down here in the bottom of the totem pole. And she was just a receptionist. Really, she didn't. Maybe she took some vitals, whatever, but she wasn't even an LVN, the next level, like less licensed vocational nurse. So you got a certified nursing assistant. They don't really do much. The LVNs, yeah, they do more. And then the RN, you're in the game now, but you're not going to make your way up unless it's politics too, because my dad was a nurse, but he didn't work in clinical. I said, Dad, how come you aren't working in the hospital or the nursing home? No, I don't want to get my hands dirty. That's too much work. I got me a good government job. Pushing pencils. But he was smart though, because he did his 25 years, got out, and that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother lifetime. You can't do that anymore. Because when I was in college, you better get your BA, your bachelor, then you gotta get an MBA, then you gotta do all this. It's like that's nonsense. I don't know. I got in it. I said, I better finish because I put so much time in it. But you know what I learned in 7 years of getting a 4-year degree? The best thing that I learned was the life experiences. It wasn't all about memorizing all the stuff to pass an exam and getting that diploma, whatever. It's like that 7 years. I wouldn't have learned that just on the regular path that I took because I'm always on the crazy path. So that's what I tell people. It's like I learned a lot. I got a lot of life, and if that probably wouldn't have got me halfway where I'm now without that experience, because I almost died. Actually, I had a motorcycle that I brought from Northern California. That's part of the reason I moved, because I got kicked out of the house because my mom said, "You're not gonna have a motorcycle, not in this household." But my dad said, "Why are you challenging mom? You know, she's the boss." I challenged her, and I was quickly out. So that was right the time when I moved. And then 6 months, I she worked in medical records. Both my parents are health professionals. My dad was a registered nurse in the government. My mom was in the corporate, though. She was in the medical records department. But then she made her way up. She got her master's. She's the head honcho now, kicking the doctor's ass. Get your charts in. So, but she told me, because she always read charts about everyone dying and everything, you're not gonna ride a motorcycle. You're gonna get killed out there. It's too crazy. And that's true. It's not about you being the safest driver. It's all the other fools out there. So I got ran over by a drunk driver and almost died.
Oh
So,
no.
but my stupid ass was limping and everything. Next weekend, I was like, well, let's go party. I was on the crutches and stuff, and it's like I still didn't learn my lesson. But that was just one of 9 lives that I almost didn't make it. I almost checked out, like Ken said. But yeah, that was a big wake up call too. But so I don't know where I got off on the motorcycle, somewhere around there. I don't know, but because
So you're in Hawaii.
I'm in Hawaii.
You're
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, you're selling, you work for the airline, you work for government job. That ended. You were working for the airline, and you said you ended up being a corporate trainer. Was that for the airline, or was that after you had moved on?
Yeah, actually, start out at the bottom, customer service on the phones. Then I quickly, within a year and a half, I became a sales rep. And that, I don't know how that happened, because when I went for my interview and, all that, flew out to LA, and they said, Mike, you made it. We're going to take you on. And then they said, you know what? You're in internal, but I didn't have that much sales experience compared to all these people, external applicants. There was a
All right.
1,000 applicants. They said you kicked all their ass, 1 out of 1,000. I don't think anyone else internally went for it, because that's a hard job. But I had the experience in the system already on the phones. I knew what's going on because I used to work with the travel agents. So our main job as a sales rep was to sell the airlines to the travel agents.
All right.
So they'd all sell us and sell our system, because it was all about the GDS global distribution system too. So, and they said, you went up against all these guys with crazy sales experience here and there, but somehow I did it, because so I had to relocate, though, from Hawaii. The position was in California, and I had to go to Chicago for 7 weeks of training in the dead of winter. So you guys out in the Midwest, you can have that all, because
That's why we're leaving.
California is cold and freezing, but it ain't nothing. Yeah, when I heard your story about Minnesota, and the closest I got was Chicago. 5 weeks we didn't see like any light, and that was
Oh
not
yeah.
even worse. And then a year later, I went back to South Bend, because our friend, which was a priest he was our spiritual director of our community back here in Hawaii and California. He died, so he was from Notre Dame. He was the Holy Cross, and so went there to bury him. And somehow, I don't know how, he said, we're gonna take a side trip. It was like right before Christmas. Where are we going? We're going to Michigan. We went to Michigan, somewhere off the lake. I was even colder than Chicago and South Bend. I said, this is crazy. I'm glad I'm not this region, because before, when I had my region in California, it was just going to be California, not like this guy in Denver. He had to fly around to all over the Midwest and mountain region and others. So yeah, so I worked in airline, and I moved up to sales rep. I was going to be a big shot account executive, but that didn't, the work-life balance. Like I said, I was working 16-hour days, and before in the pure sales with the insurance, but the airlines, I said no, because I was moving now, and my wife and son were back in Hawaii, and then they were supposed to, after I finished training, they were going to come to California, but something happened there. I don't know what happened in a couple months. I had to go back to Hawaii, take a hardship. Check this out. I was in the airport one time, and I saw my supervisor that trained me. Yeah, before I started doing the same thing she was doing as a trainer, and she said, Mike, how's it going? I said, it ain't going well. Then I told her a story. She said, well, just go back to Hawaii. They know me. They know you. Tell them, just say hardship, and you can get back your old job. And I went from nothing just to get in the big corporate game. Then I went back to nothing again, back to below McDonald's,
Yeah, you had a landing spot at least. At least
But
there's something.
you do what you got to do. I didn't have no pride. I didn't have no pride. It's like whatever. So that was part of getting back in there, and then I continued that for another 5 years, and that's before I came here. So it was I finished out that short 7 year sales customer service career with the airline, doing side hustles with marketing, and I was really building though. I had contacts and everything as well, from Hawaii to California to Philippines, all over. Hawaii is really unique because you got people. It's a gathering place for not just the islands, but all over the world. So
Yeah.
I made a lot of good contacts there too. So I didn't just jump over here blindly. I did because my dad said, "What? You're gonna quit your good job? Your good job?" I was now jumped up later after all the airlines crashed because they told us though. One of the trainers, 2003, he came over, and I already knew this too because I was doing my homework. He said, it was after the big 2000 bubble crash, and then after the 9/11 craziness and everything. And then this trainer said, "You guys better look for a new job." And they all said, "Why?" "We're going to outsource all your jobs to India and the Philippines. So you guys aren't going to have nothing left." And they said, "Oh, whatever. This guy's crazy." I said, "You guys better listen to him. He knows what he's talking about." So I made the decision. I already came here twice on vacation. That was 2003. So 2002 and earlier 2003. And I told my dad, "You know what? I'm I'm gonna go back to the Philippines." He said, "What?" And I told him, I gotta take care of grandma's properties. You guys left it all behind, neglected, and we got to do something with it because it was just sitting for that time was already
So
30 years. She died, and everyone's gone. So
right. So you seem like in what I see of your work and everything, it seems like you have a lot of hard skills, like farming and different the concrete stuff and all of that. So growing up, I see when in your thing you said you grew up on a couple different farms in California and helped out with that stuff.
oh yeah,
What kind of stuff did you learn?
yeah, oh yeah, my auntie and uncle, they first had chickens, ducks. They slaughtered them all. Horses, no one ate the horses, but they had some. So I learned that. I watched the aunties to help, like do a whole goat and all that. Then they switched to veggie farming. Another one of my dad's, no, my dad's uncle, my grandpa's brother, they had a veggie farm. My dad too. See, my dad, I think he didn't really do the farming like my grandma did. They did the rice and others. But when he got here and we had our first house, we had a big back veggies, we had ducks, we had a big ass compost pit. So I learned from him, learned from my aunties, and then others that had farms as well, like veggie farm and animal farming.
So
I
they
got some
carried
even later
They
when he got
carried
back.
that tradition. Oops, sorry. They carried that tradition
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all those skills to the US when it wasn't really the norm here. They just brought it here and did it here also. I think we might have gotten Mike all froze up. We'll
It's yeah. There, I'm back. I saw you
all
first,
right,
so
there you
okay. Yeah, actually, because my dad, like his three older brothers went to the service. That was a fast track for all the boys. My dad he was a spoiled, he had three sisters still. All his brothers were gone when they started leaving. He's like, I'm gonna be a mama's boy. So, he left. And so all of them were government almost. And, my aunties became housewives after they married and moved their families. But only one had that one older sister that they did farming, and like they were poor, they were dirt poor, and that was sad because my dad said, I admire your uncle, my brother-in-law, because he helped all these other guys get started when he was just getting started out, but he never got the payback. There was no pay it forward. They were dirt poor after the veggie farm. They looked like they're still, I mean, the animal farm, but once they moved inland from the Bay Area, they had the animal farm closer to the Bay Area. They moved into the Central Valley, Stockton. Farmers market Wednesdays, Friday, and Saturdays. Wednesdays, they turned around, they sold their goods, and then they turned around, went back. It's like an hour and a half drive, 2 hours. But the weekends, they used to sleep in their van. And my dad said, "Why don't you and your sister go to farmers market, help your auntie out because the older cousin, he's been working with uncle and working the farm. The other brother's a deadbeat. He didn't do nothing. And Auntie needs some people to help sell her veggies. So she would pay us $5 the whole weekend. And when you're looking at $5, man, that's a lot. You didn't have no job. We were just like, not even, we're just elementary kids. And we're selling all her veggies and, help her, because you don't come back from the farmer's market with a truck or a van halfway full. You got to sell it all. It's, so we used to do that and learned all about that, and she, even when we took some time too, we used to go fishing. We went to the San Mateo Bridge. We got jumped in a little boat and we would catch fresh anchovies. I said, Dad, what is this then? So he break the net up. We just so I was like, damn, we did fishing. Well, we had fishing too. So I've been fishing since I was a kid. So that's part of aquaculture. And then the farming, regular agriculture, I didn't know what permaculture was until just a few years ago. It's like, okay, now I understand what permaculture is. So,
but you did. My aunties
didn't do it.
You knew what it was. That's the thing I realized.
Yeah,
I knew what it is. It's in you.
I knew it, but I didn't recognize it. Yeah,
right. It's seeing it. That's when that light bulb goes on, and you're just like, oh my God, it's all making sense now because this is just the way it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah. We just didn't label it. We just didn't recognize it for what it was. It's like really living off the land, but yeah, that California, it's all agriculture. We didn't do the permaculture. My grandma's side probably they had a ranch up in the mountains, so they had cattle and all that, and I'm sure they had some animals, and they did more the true permaculture because they just moved the cattle. They always did the cattle drives, and then I don't know if that had.
So they did grass fed. They did the ranching.
Yeah.
And then sold them off to the feed mills at the end.
Yeah, but that was back they were talking like the early 1900s. That's another story too. I have a whole tale of two cities from both grandmas, maternal and paternal. That's like another episode and a half. So, but yeah, so the background in the farming, fish and veggies and animals on the four-leggeds on crawl, and then the hard skills too with the construction. My first job I got though, 10 years old, my dad's oldest brother had this. What it was is you had those tract homes back in the early 70s.
Yep.
All these model homes, and they put those stucco boxes up quick, sell them for cheap. And then someone has to clean all that stuff up. So my uncle, he was smart. He I don't know what his resources background, but he got some vehicles, and then the labor was all the family. Especially in the summer, get all the cousins, the nieces and nephews, but my aunties would help out too on the weekends and the rest of the year. And you got to clean up all the scrap wood, all those materials all over the place. And then everything's dirty and dusty, paint, stucco flying everywhere. So they call it in Filipino, kiss, kiss. Kiss, kiss means scrape, scrape. So you got the paint and stucco all over the glass and the porcelain, the ceramic, all over in the bathrooms, kitchens. So, but that's the top tier jobs. I start out, okay, what am I going to do? You go talk to your uncle. And your uncle said, you guys are on the cleanup crew. So we had to pick up all the scrap wood and crap, get it all out to the garage, stage it. And then we get out to the driveway, and then we load up the truck and go to the dump. And I said, this is boring. So I told him, what's next? I said, okay, because my other cousins, they were lazy. They're lazy ass. So my cousin said, okay, you're going to mentor with him. He's got to teach you how to vacuum first. So I did that. Okay, vacuuming. I thought vacuuming is just, no, there's a certain method how to vacuum. So I got the vacuum. So I got on the vacuum crew. Then to graduate. Okay, you oil down the doors. All the doors are dusty. You oil them down. Made my way up. Then it's like, when can I do that scraping stuff? That's cool. Okay, you get now graduates with my auntie. So I was doing the cross training, multitasking there. And that was $50 the whole month. So a whole summer, $50. So I don't know, but he fed us
to scrape window. You're trying to get up to scraping windows.
Yeah, I wanted to do that because that's what it was all about. It's like that was the cool job. It's like I ain't got to pick up trash, and that's the dirty work. And then vacuuming was cool, but that got boring. Oiling the doors, and so there's about 4 or 5 divisions there. So I finally got to graduate to that, but still my aunties had that because that was the cool job anyway.
That's a great business.
You didn't have to get out there.
That's brilliant. Everybody wants to build it and sell it, and somebody's got to clean it up.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
that's the dirty job of Mike Rowe that, and my wife loves that. I said, help Tim get on the Mike Rowe, program, because he's on a mission. And when you're on
Yep.
a mission, nothing's gonna stop you. That's
Yep.
another life. It's like you focus, you put the blinders on. It might be 1 week, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, whatever, but you do it because I got a lot of the soft skills to all that, the inspirational, the work
Mm.
ethic, I got all that, but without these hard skills too, you got to put it all together. It's you can't just I don't know how to describe it, but because there are a lot of people, they had a lot of skills that I had too, but okay, what are they doing now? Sitting at home with no
Yeah.
job or working it in the and that ain't
Easy.
gonna last forever too.
It's easier to
So
sit at home and get a check every month than go out and do some work and earn that money. I don't know.
oh
I've
yeah,
I've been in the system a couple times, but it's always been like unemployment, and I would work these long stretches and all these hours, and then I get this like 40% of your wage when the company, the seasonal and lay off, and you get 40% of your wage, and it's like, wait, what? I know how much is putting in. And I worked for like 4 years. I worked for 48 months, and I can get 4 months of unemployment at 40% of my wage. I know what we put in, and it's not that, it's more than that.
oh yeah. I mean, you can't even measure that. That's like the intrinsic. That's what I tell people. It's like I said, the 7 years. It's like if you just measured it based on how many classes I took and passed and tests and exams and that piece of paper. It's like no, you don't. It's more than that. I mean, it's and that's it. And I probably would have been similar situation with you. But the first life didn't work. My son, he's 27 now. I got a 27-year-old son, but yeah, that didn't even last. I actually that was one of the. But when you're young and in love, you don't hear your friends say, if we would have told you. It's like you ain't got to listen to even your best buddy. So that didn't work. So I was solo, but yeah, my son though, I raised him every day after work and on weekends for 5 years. So I think he got a good base, on that. After that, my hands are, I was like, I don't know. Hopefully, but he did good though, because we had this typhoon back, I think a few years after I got here, and then I was online. I was checking my wife's trying to look. She's like, "Oh, I saw an article. Your son, he raised like $2,000 with his class. He was like in fourth grade to send money back to the Philippines for all these people that got, that messed up in that big old, typhoon." I said, "Well, we used to go. We were at our church committee. We bring them to the we'll bring them to the old folks home, the nursing home, and then we go on these outreaches. And check this out. One time we did an outreach for this orphanage that was in the neighborhood where he lived, or we lived, the bigger neighborhood. And he said, Dad, what? He goes, there's my classmates. So he was living in the same neighborhood, going to the same, elementary school, and he saw his same classmates at this outreach that we did for this orphanage, there. And I see, it's like, damn. I mean, that's a small world. Anyway, I didn't know that we were going there. They said we're gonna just meet here, and he was there. It was like nothing. It's like he's still in school. He was, I don't know how old he was. He was young, but and then he got to see like real poverty. And he saw how thankful he has that he's got food and shelter, and everything is good. You don't. He didn't probably even know that his own classmates were living in this orphanage. You know, maybe it's with mom. They had these couple orphanages with single mom with kids, or whatnot. No dad around, so things like that. I mean, you can't learn that stuff. You can't pay for that. If you never experienced that, it's like, okay, do you know how privileged you are to have running water? If you live out in the boonies, when you have to use the pump. When I go down the farm here, Auntie still has the pump, but inside out.
Yeah, my mom used to take us for a
Yeah,
drive out through some of the poverty stricken areas of where I grew up, and when I would complain that I wasn't getting this or
she
that,
has a
and
footing. Oh, no problem. Hey,
you there?
it's okay. It all happened. But yeah, I mean, so being thankful that that you have everything pretty much. I mean, when you think about it that way, compared to people that are, they're just scraping by, and it's your next door neighbor, it's your classmate, it's your coworker, whoever. So, so he learned a lot. So, and I mean, I, it's like I'd never seen that growing up, that bad. I mean, we weren't, growing up, we were poor, and then we made it, but we were never wealthy, so we're always just in the middle, how it is. So, but yeah, so that was the first, like the pursuit of happiness. They said this part is stupidity. I have some part. I always read that because I also had that stupidity in my life. This other part of life. This is running. This
Yeah.
life
So
is just
now you're
like,
killing it, right? So you're killing it
oh yeah.
now. You're
Well,
you got a business
actually,
going on.
it's funny though, because when I first came over, right before I left, my brother-in-law, my sister's brother-in-laws, but we're all big time. Her husband, they got a big clan over there in the Bay Area, and they said, "Oh, Mike, man, you're going to the Philippines. You're gonna be doing real estate. You're going big time." It's like I didn't know what I was getting into. It No, it didn't really happen. Even my partner, he's an architect, and the construction industry over here, it's a lot political. You got your license, so usually you're not going to get in the game being a contractor, general contractor, or even just not even licensed general contractor. You're just doing contracts, you're doing construction, unless you're an architect or engineer. For some reason, they need this title again. These been titles and then it leads to entitlement. I don't know. So everyone's like architect this, CPA that, lawyer this, and like I don't have no title, I don't have no license, but I'm partnering with them. And yeah, it's tough because we went through seminars. This property that we started out first, which the reason I was coming over here, my dad put all this money in. He took out a home loan, and we were going to build this big old 6-story student residential building, dorm, whatever you want to call it, apartment. And it's right in the middle of the U Belt, so it's a big opportunity, cash cow. My dad didn't really care. He's like, he's gonna make money. We didn't read the fine print. We didn't know who this guy we're hiring. So we had a big seminar because it failed after 8 months. Lawyer and all that, never go to court. Talk to Patricia over there about making sure you cover your ass with arbitration, whatever. So we had a big seminar because a few years later, I told my business partner, I said, because he also ran into that with one of his first big client. I said, you got a seminar. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, look at what us. Remember that seminar, that one over that building right over there? He's been my caretaker. I said, how much did that cost? He goes, I don't know. I said, it costs about 9.5, maybe 10 million. That's like $200,000. How long did that seminar last? Because you take a seminar, right? Workshop. You come back from the corporate, right? They give you have these 3 binders, and then you go back to office. And said, Brian, where were you out? You didn't even have to ask. Oh, he must have been in a seminar again. He got those big binders. What did you learn? I didn't learn shit. I was just sleeping in the back of the room, but the company paid for it. So it wasn't on your dime.
Waiting for the cocktail hour and the free hotel room.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe after parties if it was something longer. But so we had a seminar. We spent about $200,000. That was extra because I actually had my own money too. Because my dad said, he told my cousins, he said, if you want some of grandma's inheritance, you go over there with Mike and to the Philippines and you get to work, And they're like, I haven't done that. No one said anything. So he said, all right, then you guys can't complain or whatever, because he's going to go do it. I don't know how long he didn't even know what I was getting into. We started with him, but then I took the responsibility because we got the financial management of the estate. And, I didn't do my job too, but, we were lay people. We didn't know this system over here. You think it's crazy. It's 10 times. It's the wild, wild west over here. It's nothing like, we don't got all the systems that can prevent a lot of this corruption, which happened. So spent all this money. The time at that time was like 5 years. And so I told my friend, my business partner, I said, so we had a seminar, almost 10 million, right? Yeah. He even helped do some repairs on it so I could still stay in the building. I didn't have to pay rent. That time was 5 years. We didn't even finish the legal yet. That was still ongoing. I said, what do you learn? I said, do your due diligence. So, you always have some learning, even if you didn't do nothing. What did you learn at that seminar? You got to tell your boss. It's like, he's not sending you to a workshop training seminar, and you got to make some binders on the desk, whatever. So he had a similar experience. He had a smaller project out of town, 2 hours away. He had his work crew there, and then he had a partner, which wasn't even professional at all. How about you? He said, "Oh shoot, now I understand. You had a big seminar. How much was your seminar?" He said, "Oh, that cost about 2 million. So that's about $40,000." At that time, he was just starting. That was a lot. Okay, how long is the seminar? His court case is still ongoing. That's 10 years now. Ours is done and gone. We lost because of politics. We didn't pay for it though. We use other people's money. They're paying for all that legal and everything else. So we're ready to finally get this property back up and running. But he spent 2 million that he lost, opportunity lost, and then it's going on 10 years now. Before it was still like 5 years. Okay, what did you learn? He goes, "Man, don't partner with any of these fools." I said, "How did you know that guy?" "Oh, I knew him because he was so and so's cousins, friends, neighbors, sisters, you know." I said, "Dude, you didn't know that, dude." "Yeah, I didn't know he's gonna try to tear me a new ass." Well, the case wasn't even like, it was all about reputation. It wasn't even financial. It's like, "You character assassinated me," and it's like, don't even go to court anymore. You're just wasting your time. Yeah, the judge doesn't show up. It's been like 10 years. The judge never shows up anymore. He has to pay his lawyer. They go down there and just have lunch. It's out of town too. It's like an hour and a half. So I don't go with them anymore. I was like, we just
Sounds
spend
like
time going eating lunch.
yeah, it just sounds like court system here too. That's basically it's already done and said and done. If it's not a jury trial, and even if it is half the time, all it is lawyers racking
It's
up bills.
Yeah, the kangaroo court. But here we don't have the trial by jury system because we don't have the competency of our peers, and if we did, oh my God, it would be over. So it's very political. You can't even go to court unless you have money. Not like, the regular system. Like when I got ran over by a drunk driver, I just got some ambulance chasing lawyer, paid for everything, and I got half my settlement after the doctors kept gaming the system. Half of that settlement went to the doctors for giving me all this therapy treatment I didn't need. So I didn't learn that quick too. You learn all these things, like, oh shoot. But I got something out of that. And but yeah, you can't here because if you're just, a poor person got, taken advantage of by someone else that had more resources, you can't even get to court because you have to pay that big court fee and the regular lawyer fees and all that. It's like, forget it. So yeah, it's bad. I said, don't go to court. You are never gonna win. Your other party thinks he's gonna win, but no, usually it's the lawyer's gonna take everything. Both sides. Two birds of the same, or two wings of the same bird, or whatever. So yeah, that's part of the system. I mean, I've been in and out of the system, but mentally I've always been out of the system. But sometimes you have to just work the system. Like I said,
Yeah, I
if
mean,
I was in your position, I can see it because I never had a mortgage, I never had a car note, never had, the only obligation I've had before was just like taking care of my son with some, and that was just minimal. But I would still be back on the daily grind, and no way out. If I had a mortgage or a car, because it
oh
just
yeah,
gets more. You get one car, you get another car, then you're paying off TVs and all kinds of crap for the rest of your life. People don't know the compound interest working against you versus make it work for you. So, and yeah, but I think I would never, that would never work for me because my dad always told me, don't get in debt. Although he told me when he dies, I'm gonna die broke and leave you guys with all the debt. But no, he's all his houses that he's had paid off, and they're okay. They're out in Texas, some gated subdivision in San Antonio somewhere. But he's not. This is the only residence he's not done any farming. Our big first house, he had a big one. Then the second house, we had small backyard, but we didn't really have much because the soil's not good. The third one, we moved to that bigger house up the hill, and we had all rock and clay. We had boulders. Like, we were getting the rototiller out there. It's like, no, this ain't happening. So he had some, but I don't know if you see my post earlier, but we have what's called chayote or sayote. He made a small planter box on the side, so he grew some of that. That stuff grows like weeds. So he was giving that to neighbors. They said, "Mario, what's this? Oh, this is good. We had this back in the homeland, and the motherland. This is good." And then the Asian guy, he didn't even know what it was. It's like, said, "Here, you can chop it up, put in your stew." So he had that. And then later when he retired, he had a whole chicken coop with ducks and chickens. And I think I mentioned that before too. But see, that's another thing. When you tell your story, remember 80% of people never heard this. You're going to
yeah,
get new listeners or whatever. So, I learned that in training too, because, when you're giving your talks, whatever, and you gotta put your story in there somewhere too. You gotta give them what they came for, whatever. It's a certain thing. But, otherwise people are just going to fall asleep. They're going to,
yeah.
on the regular, even a regular short 15-minute talk or speech, or 30, 45 an hour, you gotta give them the real deal, because otherwise it's like, why are we listening to? We can just read a book, or now you can just watch a webinar, and you don't get anything out of that. It's really, everything what you do every day, and Amy and Nicole and Ken and Jack, and they're bringing it, you know we call it keeping it real. So but yeah, we so Uncle Mario, my dad, he had a small backyard farm, and and it's weird because he didn't grow up with he didn't have that at his house. He grew up here, and he didn't spend too much on the farm, grandma's farm down the hill in her hometown, because this is her new hometown when she migrated up the hill to get out of the poverty of the poor rice farmers. So, but yeah, he just learned, he got that from his brothers or sisters and his uncle, about farming. And I think he also worked on a farm. Remember that too, because he did it backwards. He went to high school, got out, joined the army, got out, then he probably worked the farm. I think he worked the farms for sure, because he talked to this other guy, and he's, oh, I know you from the farm back in the old days, chasing chicks and all that. So he worked, probably with his sister on her farm too. So he worked the farm, then he got other side hustles, and then he said, I better go back to school. He got out of the army, military, got married, had 3 kids, which is the 3 of us. And then it's like, oh shoot, I don't even got, how am I going to get ahead? So he went and got his degree, and then he got his corporate job, 25 years in and out. And he's 82 now. And, I hope I can make it that far and not be like laid up, half
Yeah,
broken, whatever.
me
I hope I
too.
can still wake,
I
walk.
look at getting old, and I'm like, oh man, do I even want to go there? Just do it till I can do it, and then be done with it. I don't know. But anyway, we're here in an hour, and I kind of wanted to get to this last question that you kind of threw on the form. What do you got coming up, man? What are your plans? What are your goals? What are your dreams here in the next couple of years?
Okay. Well, immediately we got to finish these urban projects. Right now we have about 4 of them on current in operations. We were going to bring some more on, but my business partner, he's getting burnt out too. He had a heart attack and stroke, and we have the 2 ranches up the hill, about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour up the hill. 2 ranches that's ancestral land from his mom. So they got some other communal with the other cousins and whatever, but she got her own, and we're going to do some rural development. I said, forget this urban development. So we got the eco villages. Like, I like the hip camp idea. He wants to do camping too. I don't know where we're going to get a camper. I'm going to find. We saw one Winnebago. Some construction company had a Winnebago on site when we were passing through the mountains. I said, damn, they got a Winnebago. How'd they get that over here? Because we got all this Japanese surplus, and so but we might look. This one guy, he's on YouTube. We're following. He got this Japanese surplus. It's a small little camper. It's a conversion camper. I said, okay, but we'll just make our own or something, make a Airstream or whatever, and tow that. But rural development, so eco village, retirement village with some, mountain biking. We'll do whatever. Want to do the hayride and the campfire and build some cabins. We have that. We got to work on. He's got the plans already. Um, got his team of his junior architects have been doing it, because it's getting burned out. I'm not burned out. I'm doing everything. I'm still, my wife, she's doing her consulting. We're doing that. So, and then I got the other farms. My grandma has 2 farms down the hill. The closest one is better. It's only 45 minutes. The other one's hour and a half. I'm ready to sell that one out, because that one's bigger, but that was just rice only. And it's too far. And that town turned into it's turned into a carnival. It was a small town back in the day. Now it's got 5 malls out in the middle of nowhere. You got 5 malls in this big town now. It used to be a small town, and we got squatters on our property out there. We got to get rid of them. We never had squatters before on rural property. So our caretaker, he I don't know what happened. He tried to. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But the smaller one close by here, I have to figure out what's the best to raise there. But goats and pigs, and some root crops, no rice, none of that stuff. But my auntie, now my best friend too, his mom grew up on a farm that's a little bit closer. It's 45 minutes the other road down the hill, and no one's taking care of that. I told him, we got to help your mom, she can't do it. Your uncle, her brother died. He was raising goats and pigs, native pigs and goats. So I said, we need to get that because that's a small. That's like 2.5 acres, but there was 2 fish ponds. But it's a working farmer. They got mango, they got moringa, all these. They got a lot of crops. They got some chickens and ducks and whatever. But right now, it's not really. No one's really full time caretaker. And I'd rather go down there and do weekends on that, or spend a couple months and get it started and get those pigs and goats back, uh, raising them. It's just you need a man to sorry, not being whatever, but we have a lady that's just feeding the small birds, and she can't handle goats and pigs. And Uncle did
Right.
that,
Well,
and he had a helper
it's
that
it's
took off. So,
physical work for sure.
oh yeah, I mean, but nothing big. This is he was doing some side hustle, selling it, and yeah, it's a good though. He had a good market for the pigs, especially the goats. He wasn't The goats are actually a big demand too because goat meat is very hard to find over here, even though a lot of people farm because it's not mass produced. So it's like a
Right.
delicacy as well as the native pigs because the commercial pigs, I don't want any of that commercial pig, but the native pigs
We were
they're
gonna get
leaner,
into
but they
goats.
taste really good.
We were gonna
What
get
was
into
that?
goats. We were gonna get into goats. My wife worked with a large Somali community um,
Hmm.
at the hospital, and they were looking for goat here. It seems that goat is probably the most popular meat around the world, except for in the United States, where we decide that we're gonna eat beef. So
Yeah. Oh,
but
and I
we
didn't know
never
how.
we never ended up getting them. We kept going back and forth between dairy goats and meat goats, and we wanted the milk, but it didn't really make sense to raise like a miniature dairy goat for to sell as meat. So we never really got to it. We might down the road, but yeah, it's a different animal for sure.
Yeah, because they're high maintenance. My best friend, his dad has a ranch farm. I don't know. It's just scrubland out in California. It's 20 acres. And he had his goats in the backyard. That's where my dad got a lot of his animals, chickens and ducks too, because he had goats. Then he brought them to the daughter's house on the other side of town. That was her regular maintenance for the because we have a lot of weeds out there, and they take care of all those weeds, that are overgrowing. But he had, they had 20 acres, and he had about 40 goats at one time, and that was a good market for the Filipinos. They love goats. But then, who's going to go? It's drive 2 hours to that ranch from the Bay Area to the foothills. No one's maintaining it. He died already. The brothers, like, I'm not doing this anymore because he was butchering goats and pigs on the side. He had a side hustle he also worked for the airline. He was a shop steward. He was a chef. So he trained his people. And then weekends, I was helping sometimes doing the roasted pig. That's another story too. So yeah, but goats are good. Here, check this out. We have a big Muslim population from the south, but they migrate all over the country. So we have a lot of them up north. And you got the Ramadan, end of Ramadan after a big feast. Well,
I think he froze up again. Give him a couple seconds here, see if he comes back. It appears that he is locked up hard. I'm gonna. I'm not sure if you can hear me, Mike. If you can't, or if you can, I'm going to drop you off. I'm going to close up the show here. And yeah, I really appreciate you being on. It's kind of weird talking to you when you're all froze up, but I'm going to drop you off here, and we're going to close up. And I will catch up with you on Telegram if you can hear this. If not, then I'm sure I'll catch you up there. Catch up with you there anyway. That was Mike the Philippine Nomad. He had some technical difficulties there. We were seeing a little bit of it here and there throughout the broadcast, a little bit of clickiness. It is all the way around on the other side of the country, so not a big deal. Yeah, if you enjoyed the episode, please share it. I appreciate you watching, and yeah, I wasn't really quite ready to wrap up, but yeah, back on Monday, 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Check us out at thelotsproject.com, on Float, YouTube, Odyssey, Facebook, Instagram, Gab, Twitter. Let me see, anywhere else? Rumble, everywhere. It's been a great day. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast and was able to hang out. And I would hope I was able to hang out with you guys in the chat. You guys have the great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you Monday.